We've now entered October, obviously, and I think this is the lull before the next storm, which is going to be all the leaves and debris falling off the trees. I am back up on the gutter. It is October 7th, Wednesday, 2020, and I thought I'd take a quick look and see how the gutter guards are doing. We've now entered October, obviously, and I think this is the lull before the next storm, which is going to be all the leaves and debris falling off the trees. You can see behind me pine needles that are up on the roof that seem to be falling down in a quicker clip than they have been over the course of the summer. So we're starting to see some shedding there, even though those just regenerate throughout the course of the year. So I thought it would be a good time to take a look at how the different systems are doing at this point in late summer. So stay tuned and I'll show you what's happening. I am on the south side of the garage. We are looking at LeafFilter. You can see a fair bit of debris on LeafFilter at this point. So we have a number of pine needles, we've got some other leaves and debris, and then we still have remnants on this gutter guard of the locust flowers from late spring. Those first started falling from the trees at the end of May, and here we are now in the early part of October, and we still have remnants of that sitting up here. Mostly at this point, kind of underneath where the shingle overhangs into the gutter guard. You can see along the rear portion of the plastic the remnants of some leaves and debris. So some of that stuff is new, some of that stuff has been up there for a while, but the point is it's still up here. And this gutter guard really has not had a chance to come clean, so to speak. So there's never really been a day on this gutter guard when there hasn't been something sitting up on top of it. And as you can see, in the case of these pine needles here, there's quite a bit of activity on this system at this point. So if I step down and do kind of the obligatory look across the front, you'll see some of the dirt, some of the flowers, some of the debris that has clung to the face of the gutter and continues to kind of hang out there at this point. It's just kind of dried on residue from times past. And then if we go underneath, you'll see some of the yellowing where the water has changed colors and just kind of beaded off the bottom of that. So we've had a continued stretch of dry period. We've had a little bit of rain recently, but what you see here is a system that, because it sits relatively flat inside the gutter, is allowing more of that debris to sit on top of the gutter guard than perhaps some other systems would. Here we're looking at MasterShield on the south side of the garage. This system continues to remain pretty clean, pretty free and clear of any debris. You can see some of the pine needles up at roof level. Those things tend to work their way down, hit the gutter screen, and for this system they keep moving forward. As you can see here, this has got a relatively steep pitch, say compared to the LeafFilter that's right next door to it. And so that pitch really makes the difference in terms of its ability to shed the leaves and debris. So we have very little stuff sitting on the system at this point. You can see just a little bit of stuff in the grooves and the channels, and maybe a little bit on the screen itself. But from day to day, this system just continues to perform well, and the debris continues to keep going to the ground, which is exactly what you want. If we look here at the front, it's basically clean. Very little stuff sitting on the face of the gutter. And then if you come to the underside, again, very clean. So the MasterShield on the south side of the garage has been a consistent, good performer over here, and every time we check on it, we pretty much see the same thing: an open gutter guard that's available to take in the water and shed the leaves and debris. Here we're looking at the Gutter Glove Pro. The screen is basically clear. We've got a few pine needles that are kind of hanging out here on the front right corner. You come across, you'll see a few more pine needles sitting on top of the gutter guard system. But overall, the screen is clear, available to take in the water. And my assumption at this point is there's really nothing holding the debris up here. This stuff will blow down, blow off, wash off. Can't get through the screen. Those holes in the screen are too tight to allow those pine needles to stick in there. So this one is also doing a good job right now, keeping the stuff mostly off the surface and certainly keeping it out of the gutter guard. If you come down to the front, the face, this one's not doing quite as well as the MasterShield system. You can see quite a bit of debris that has clung to the face of the gutter. And again, that residue has been up here for some period of time. I'm sure if you looked at the different videos, you'd see it kind of shifting from time to time, or something drops off and something gets added. But it definitely does stick to the face of the gutter with this system because it doesn't have the built-in drip edge like, say, the MasterShield or the LeafFilter has. Step down to the bottom, all looking pretty clean there. We've had a variety of instances where water has come off the bottom of this system, so because it's been so dry for so long, we don't really have a good barometer right at the moment as to how much water has been coming off the base of this system. But we've definitely seen it come off the base of the system. So for the moment, it's sunny and dry and a little bit of a breeze out here, so you can see the stuff. Like, for instance, that helicopter wasn't there just a minute ago. A couple helicopters have made their way on there, and certainly those things will keep cruising to the ground below. Here we're looking at Leaflock on the south side of the garage. You see a clump of debris, pine needles, I guess, a helicopter. My hand is kind of in the way there, so there you might be able to see a little bit better. The pine needles that are hanging out there, you got some pine needles literally as we speak are working their way down off the roof and hitting the surface here. So where the Leaflock is a little bit different than MasterShield, Gutter Glove, and LeafFilter is that the screen here is more porous. And because it's more porous, it's more likely that these long needle pines can get into and stick into or hang out on top of the gutter guard surface. So in other words, they can plug vertically in through that screen mesh because that screen is a little bit too porous for these needles. So if I just snag I'm going to move this. Normally I don't touch this stuff, but I think this is a good kind of indicator of what can happen. You can see there, if I drop that pine needle in vertically, it will go through that screen. Whereas if I did the same thing with MasterShield, LeafFilter, and the Gutter Glove Pro, it wouldn't be able to get through there. So as a result, if we look inside the gutter, you may be able to see a few pine needles that have worked their way down to the bottom. You can also see some dirt, probably a few shingle granules and what have you, but if you look at the base of the gutter guard, you can definitely see more stuff inside there today, but I definitely see a handful of pine needles down there. Now we have sealed up the opening of the downspout, so it will collect any of the dirt, any of the pine needles, and prevent that stuff from passing through. So at some point we can take this screen off and we can kind of see how much stuff has gotten in there. But if you look right here, well, again, my shadow might be in the way. But definitely a few pine needles inside the gutter at this point. Vast majority of the stuff that hits the system just keeps cruising off the top, and you can again see how it, if it sits horizontally on the screen, it's no problem, it'll just blow away. But if it were to land vertically in here, then there's either a chance it's going to pass through, or maybe it would dry up sufficiently and part of it would break off and pass through to the inside and part of it would roll off the top. If we come to the face of the gutter, you're going to see some more stuff. Now we have a shadow line that's kind of right at that transition from the top lip there to the face of the gutter, but you can see through that shadow some of the debris that has clung to the face of this system. And then if we step to the underside, all looks relatively clean, few remnants of where the drops have been in the past. But if you kind of look at this over time, really any of these systems over time, you're going to get a varying amount of debris that hits the face of the gutter. And then the next time it rains, the water's going to come across, roll across the face of the gutter. It's going to knock some of that stuff off. It's going to add more stuff to it. And it's just kind of a recycling effect of stuff hitting it, sticking around for a while, getting knocked off, and repeating. So here at the bottom, it all looks pretty good at the moment, whereas I know in the spring, we definitely had more signs of stuff dripping from this. So that's kind of the self-cleaning aspect of these gutters and the gutter guards. So, you know, what we might have seen in the spring as being, you know, more troubling kind of works itself out over time. You get to this point in the year where it's been dry for a period of time. We're kind of in the late summer, and, you know, we've got what we got. A few weeks from now, we'll start to see some of these leaves change colors and start to drop off. We'll come back and revisit it. Here we're looking at the diamond pattern micro mesh screen from Valor, and you can see quite a bit of stuff sitting on top. So we have, sorry for my shadow there, see if I can change the angle a little bit, or hopefully you can see through it. Pine needles hanging out on top of this system, and quite a bit of pine needles compared to the other systems. This has got a whole lot sitting on top of it. LeafFilter is pretty similar. I'll do an assessment and determine which has got more stuff on it right now, but it would be either LeafFilter or this system in terms of the amount of debris sitting on top of it. And at this point, we're mostly looking at the pine needles. So here, if I can get back far enough, you can see some of the pine needles are sticking into the screen, so they've kind of vertically hit and landed and gone through the screen, because the openings between those, the screen openings are large enough to allow the pine needles to go through. And I can't see as well inside this one, but actually what I can see is this is holding some water down there. So that is an indicator that our screen that we've got over top of the gutter guard, oh yeah, there's quite a bit of water standing inside this. And when I say quite a bit, I mean maybe half an inch, 3/4 of an inch of water. And I can actually hear a little dripping. So let's just be quiet for a second. If you hear that dripping there. So what has happened is the stuff that has gotten inside the gutter guard through these pores in the screen has been sufficient enough to clog up the opening in the downspout. So again, we've put a screen. We actually used the screen from the Leaflock system to cover the opening of the downspout in all of these systems, knowing that that screen was tight enough to prevent most of the small stuff from going through, or stuff of any significance. It would allow some of the more organic matter to pass through, but it would allow us to more actively or more accurately assess what the inside of the gutter looks like after a period of time of doing the testing, and very interesting to see that we actually have water sitting inside this gutter, which means that we've had enough stuff that has gotten on top of the screen above the opening of the downspout to clog it, and now we've got a buildup with a very slow drip. So we are getting a drip, seems like about every 2 or 3 seconds that is passing through. But you can imagine how long it would take if this gutter were full of water for that to kind of drip its way out of there. So this is really kind of getting to the heart of these systems. They've been up here since late March, and 7 months later, or wherever we are in the process, you continue to see how they're performing. So again, quite a few pine needles sitting up on top of here. As we've just discovered, there's now water inside the system, and we have a very slow drip, so the gutter opening has clogged up. If you look at the face of this, it's got a whole lot of debris across the face of it, and of all the systems over here, this one has the most debris across the face. And then you continue to look to the underside, and you can kind of see how dirty it is there. So this system we've had some issues with, and it will be interesting to see as time goes on how it continues to perform. But you can see here in October 7th, 2020, just what we've got going on top of it. And at some point, we'll be able to see what's going on inside of it as well. So this is the LeafFree system on the south side. You can see some leaves, some pine needles sticking out of the face or out of the slot across the opening of the gutter guard. You can see some buildup of dirt and residue, really mostly from the locust flowers, plus whatever other residue has hit that over time, starting to clog up that opening there. So this is the big hang up on the solid gutter cover system, is it does a pretty good job of shedding the debris from the top side, but when that water pulls that debris around the nose and inside that slot, that's where you can get stuff caught. And it can not only get caught on in the opening of those slots, but it can also get drawn inside the gutter, and then it can eventually clog up the downspout itself. So since this is solid and I can't really see inside, and it's relatively dirty over on this end, and the shadow of the sun is right behind me, which is making it a little hard for me to give you a really accurate depiction of what's going on, you can see how the solid gutter cover is working in relation to some of the micro mesh gutter guards. Now on the north side of the garage, October 7th, 2020, it's a Wednesday. Looking at the gutter guards over on this side of the garage,